new details about the two Israeli embassy workers killed outside a Jewish museum in our nation's capital. Israel's ambassador to the U.S. called Yaron Lischinsky and Sarah Milgrim a beautiful couple. They were set to be engaged next week in Jerusalem. Josh Maxey, a friend of Sarah's, wrote on Facebook that her warmth and smile could light up any room. Maxey is the executive director of Mishpachah synagogue in Washington, and he joins us now. Josh, I'm sorry that we're meeting under these circumstances, but I'm glad that you're joining us here to talk about Sarah today. You know, I saw an interview with her dad yesterday, and he said Sarah was a wonderful girl, as close to perfect as any human should be. And I just thought, what a beautiful tribute from her father. I would imagine you too would agree with that, but I'm wondering what you have to say about her and how you're processing all of this, the loss of your friend.
Well, good morning, Gayle, and thank you so much for allowing me to be here today to talk about my friend Sarah. I would agree with her father. Sarah was a remarkable human being. I got to know her through my work as the executive director of Bet Mishpachah, which is an LGBTQ synagogue here in Washington, D.C. And Sarah, as our liaison with the embassy, fought hard every day to make sure that LGBTQ Jews were included in the life of our Jewish community here. She was bright, she was bubbly, and we could always count on her to be strategic in her thinking and planning, but also to be lighthearted and fun and offer us comedic relief.
That's the thing that strikes me, Josh. It seems she was fighting against everything that the man who allegedly took her life stood for. And I'm wondering, how did you find out what had happened to her?
Well, we were getting the reports here in D.C. About, a situation at the Capitol Jewish Museum. Friends of mine, other colleagues of mine were texting me, for updates. And I really didn't know what was going on until I started to see the news reports. And then that's when panic actually overtook me, and I started reaching out to my embassy friends, Sarah in particular, asking for updates and if they were okay. A couple hours went by and I didn't hear back, and I really began to get worried.
Yes.
Hey, Josh, it's Tony. I'm curious how you explain this all to people, members of the synagogue, but maybe just people that you run into, people you know in your life, non-Jews even. How do you explain how a Jewish girl from Kansas on a night out in our nation's capital is gunned down, apparently because of a war 5,000 miles away? Connect those dots for us.
Well, it's devastating, and it's hard to explain, but unfortunately, since the events of October 7th, our community, the Jewish community, has been facing this. These horrific acts of violence has to stop. As mentioned, Sarah fought for peace, and it is just completely ironic that her life and the life of Yaron would be taken in such a violent way.
Yeah, to hear they were engaged, he was planning to propose, and you spoke to her on Wednesday. Very, very tough to digest all of this. Josh Maxey, we thank you for taking the time with us this morning.
Thank you.